The rise of nationalism in Europe.
A new day in Tagore International School. In the history class, the teacher, before moving further with the explanation of the lesson, asks the students to identify the flags drawn on the whiteboard.
Ma'am, the first flag of France.
Second is of Germany.
Absolutely correct. Now, let me narrate the lesson with the help of a PowerPoint presentation to make it more interesting and intriguing.
Yes, ma'am. It will be very interesting.
Let us first unveil the dream of Frederick Sorio in the form of a painting, the dream of worldwide democratic and social republics, the pact between nations.
Dear students, look at the beautiful painting drawn by the French artist Frederick Sorio in 1848.
Amazing! This painting was drawn almost 172 years ago and still so relevant in today's scenario.
Introducing the lesson with a painting. Wow, what a creative idea, ma'am.
The renowned French artist Frederick Sorio and his friend discussing the significance of the painting.
What would you want to depict in your painting?
Oh, this is my dream. Dream of a world made up of democratics and social republics.
Frederick Sorio elaborating his first print to his friend.
It depicts the people of Europe and America marching to pay a tribute to the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, this shows the pact among the nations. Let me explain the second print. This is influenced by the French Revolution 1789. Liberty has been personified as a female figure.
Exactly. You can identify the torch of enlightenment in her one hand and the Charter of Rights in the other.
Frederick Sorio explaining the third print.
On the earth, in the foreground of the image, lies the shattered remains of the absolutist institutions.
Oh, it shows the end of monarchy and the despotic rule and its impact on the people.
Fourth print, the divine connection.
So, my friend, you have used this divine connection to symbolize fraternity among the nations of the world.
What an artistic imagination! Great! So he was visualizing an ideal society which was unlikely to actually exist.
Here, the teacher starts discussing various administrative measures and practices after the French Revolution.
The French Revolution of 1789 clearly expressed nationalism.
Ma'am, it means nationalism triggered the feeling of collective identity and nation building.
Even various administrative measures and practices promoted a collective belonging.
French people discussing the administrative measures.
Dethrone the king.
Transfer sovereignty from monarchy to body of French citizens.
Old Estate General, now to be known as the National Assembly.
Hey, see now the colors of revolution, blue, white and red.
Internal custom duties and dues to be abolished.
Now we will have uniform law for all.
The French revolutionaries introduced various measures and practices that promoted a sense of collective identity among French people, which ultimately strengthened the idea of nation in France.
Now the trade will flourish.
One waits, one measures will help trade to flourish.
French language will be the national language.
Even martyrs to be commemorated. hymns in their honor to be composed.
There emerged the sense of collective identity among the citizens of France.
La patrie, le citoyen,
The nation, the fatherland, we, the proud citizens of France.
Teacher and students discussing the role of French revolutionaries and Jacobin clubs.
The mission of French revolutionaries was to liberate the people of Europe from despotism that would help them to become a nation.
So, ma'am, not only revolutionaries,
even Jacobin Club and French army also strengthened the influence of France in Europe.
The teacher is discussing the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte.
After the French Revolution, political instability and rule of Directory made Napoleon declare himself the Emperor of France in 1804.
oh, you mean the ideas of liberty, equality and fraternity were destroyed?
Ma'am, it seems he was a self-acclaimed emperor.
Going back to the time of Napoleon Court, Declaration of Napoleonic Code.
I hereby declare new code of law. Every citizen is equal before the law. No privileges based on the basis of birth will be acknowledged.
Yay! Now we have the right to property.
hooray! We are free from serfdom.
No manorial dues to be paid.
Yay! Feudal system has been abolished.
You are our savior.
Traders discussing and enjoying the newfound freedom of Napoleonic Code.
Friends, now our unaccomplished dream of French Revolution will come true.
Yes, guild restrictions are removed. National currency, standardized weights and measures will help trade to flourish. Transport and communication has also improved.
Our emperor is a true savior.
Initial enthusiasm of the people for Napoleonic Code turned to hostile.
Was Napoleon a hero? Maybe not. It seems like a false image of a dictator. It means Napoleonic Code did not go hand in hand with political freedom.
Napoleon giving command to his army for implementing the Civil Code of 1804.
My French army, spread the Napoleonic Code in the nations annexed by France.
Your command is above all, my emperor.
Europeans turned against Napoleon.
We are overburdened with taxes.
Strict censorship has been imposed. No freedom of expression. Napoleon is hardcore dictator, not a democrat.
My only son was recruited forcefully in the army.
Nobody can oppose Napoleon Bonaparte.
The teacher is revising all the topics.
Ma'am, so we learned that after the French Revolution, Napoleon emerged as a dictator.
The changes initiated by Napoleon could not restore democracy, and people of Europe turned against the French rule.
Absolutely correct. Do remember that nation building is always challenging.
Let us move further with two distinctive characters.
From here, the two Habsburgs characters of the 19th century will be taking us all through the trials and tribulations of the nationalism of Europe.
Wonderful. New characters. What a twist. Who are they?
Hey, young Tagoreans, I am Argus from Austria.
I am Adonis from Hungary. We will roll up the time of Europe and would go back in the 18th and 19th century.
So, my dear students, let us delve into the changes and revolutions that came after the French Revolution.
Let us comprehend the political conditions prevalent in Europe.
In the mid-18th century, there were no nation-states in Europe. Germany, Italy, Switzerland were divided into kingdoms, duchies and cantons.
Even the Central and Eastern Europe were under autocratic monarchies who ruled culturally diversified people.
Yes, my dear students, Habsburg Empire that rules over Austria. Hungary is the most powerful empire of this century.
The Habsburg Empire is a patchwork of different regions and people. In Alpine region, German is spoken.
Oh, too difficult to enthuse political unity among them.
Let us move around the Habsburg Empire.
My relative residing in Lombardy and Venetia speak Italian.
In Galicia, Polish is spoken only by aristocrats.
In Hungary, Magyar is spoken, whereas half of the Hungarians speak other dialects.
Within the boundaries of the empire live peasants, speaking different languages and dialects.
The social structure of Europe in mid-18th century.
Most dominant social class is a landed aristocracy. Owners of countryside estates and big town houses.
These powerful aristocrats speak French language for diplomacy.
Friends, in the Western Europe, land is farmed by tenants and small owners.
Whereas in Eastern and Central Europe, vast estates are cultivated by serfs.
Argus and Adonis are scolded by an aristocrat as they were wasting their time roaming around.
Hey! Argus and Adonis, gossiping? Go and join others at the farm.
We address them as Lord.
Yes, my lord.
Another social class of Europe was the prosperous commercial class.
In Western and Central Europe, growth of trade, towns and markets led to the emergence of commercial class.
Industrialization gave birth to working class and middle class.
The Industrial Revolution gave birth to many new social groups.
In the wake of Industrial Revolution, working class and middle class emerged.
My young friends, the educated liberal middle class promoted the concept of national unity.
Ideological shift in the form of liberal nationalism.
Educated middle class promoted the concept of liberalism.
Friends, by early 19th century in Europe, the idea of national unity was closely allied to the ideology of liberalism. Let's understand the principle of liberalism and try to find out whether it promoted democracy or not.
Middle class Europeans discussing and swearing in the name of liberalism.
We, the liberals, stand for freedom.
We support equality before law. We stand for constitution and representative government.
End of autocracy, end of clerical privileges.
Everyone should enjoy private property.
We support freedom of markets. The state-imposed restrictions should be abolished.
All good ideologies failed to define liberals as democrats by nature.
This is injustice. Women are excluded from right to vote and to even get elected.
Even we, the men without property, do not have political rights.
Neither liberals nor Napoleonic Code has done justice to women.
Yes, Napoleonic Code has reduced our status to minor.
Young friends, only for a brief period, under the Jacobins, all adult males enjoyed suffrage.
Oh, even liberals also did not ensure political rights to women and men without property. Very disappointing.
Let us review and understand the economic system of Europe with the example of Germany, a confederation of 39 states.
The economic system of Germany is quite amazing. Each of the 39 states possessed its currency, weights and measures.
But friends, different weights and measurements, different currencies and custom barriers pose challenges for the traders.
Hey trader, going which way today?
Oh, going a long way from Hamburg to Nuremberg.
We have to pass 11 custom barriers and have to pay a huge custom duty.
Very time consuming.
Even our measuring unit is different in different parts of German Confederation.
Traders discussing new changes they desire.
We the traders are tired of different weights, measurements and different currencies.
Even custom barriers and all state-imposed restrictions on trade should be abolished.
We want unhindered movement of goods, people and capital.
Prussia, one state of German Confederation, took the lead in initiating various economic changes.
With the initiative of Prussia, in 1834, a customs union Zollverein was formed. Many changes took place after its formation.
Zollverein has been joined by the most of the German states.
Yes, now we will be benefited as it has abolished tariff barriers and reduced the number of currencies.
Changes in Europe in 1815.
Along with the economic changes, various political and ideological changes could be seen in the 19th century in Europe after the defeat of Napoleon in 1815 in the Battle of Waterloo.
After Napoleon's defeat, European governments were driven by a spirit of new conservatism.
We conservatives believe in keeping traditional institutions preserved.
We emphasize on importance of monarchy, church, property and family.
We prefer gradual changes.
Friends, Napoleon's defeat had made us powerful. Even his idea of modernization has strengthened monarchy and new conservatism.
Yes, his concept of dynamic economy, abolition of feudalism, has strengthened autocratic monarchies of Europe. Conversation among the citizens of Vienna.
Do you know that Vienna is hosting a meeting, Vienna Congress?
Yes, Chancellor Duke Metternich is hosting it. Britain, Russia, Prussia are attending it.
At Vienna Congress 1815, Duke Metternich addressing.
My dear friends, together we have defeated the French dictator Napoleon. We have now gathered to draw up the Treaty of Vienna.
Political changes are being discussed at Vienna Congress.
Undo the changes that had come in Europe during Napoleonic Wars.
The monarchies will be given power.
We will create a new conservative order in Europe. We'll restore the power of Bourbon dynasty.
Let us withdraw the political boundaries of Europe to prevent French expansion in the future.
Genoa to be added to Piedmont. Western frontiers should be given to Russia.
The Kingdom of Netherlands, which includes Belgium, is to set up the Northern Europe.
We agree, but Austria is to be given the control of northern Italy.
Give a portion of Saxony to Prussia and part of Poland to Russia.
What about the German Confederation of the 39 states set up by Napoleon?
No delegates. Leave the German Confederation untouched.
The new conservatism was established in Europe after the Treaty of Vienna 1815. Europe was ruled by the autocratic rulers,
demanding freedom and liberty, questioning my legitimacy. Soldier, take the life out of their bodies.
Strict censorship was imposed, idea of liberty and freedom was completely suspended.
Oh Lord, what a scary picture!
Who in Europe dared to criticize the new conservative regime? They were none other than liberal, nationalists and revolutionaries.
The fear of repression by the rulers drove them underground. Thereby, secret societies were formed.
Argus and Adonis have discovered one secret place where revolutionaries convened their meetings.
Dear friends, do not be scared.
The revolutionaries used to decide their strategies against the conservative rulers in these ruined palaces.
Giuseppe Mazzini, the Italian revolutionary who inspired people for political and social changes.
Friends, I believe God has intended nations to be natural units for mankind.
Yes, we agree with you, great Italian revolutionary Giuseppe Mazzini.
Sir, we promise to work for the unification of nations.
Sir, your revolutionary societies, Young Italy and Young Europe, have inspired the Europeans.
Quick recap of various developments.
So, we have understood the political and social structure of Europe in the 19th century. We have discussed Habsburg Empire too.
Ma'am, we also understood liberalism and new conservatism and the changes done by the Treaty of Vienna.
We also understood the role of revolutionaries who challenged the conservative rulers.
Argus and Adonis taking us to the age of revolutions of 19th century Europe.
As conservative regimes tried to consolidate their power, liberal, nationalists led revolutions in many regions of Europe.
European regions such as the Italian and German states, the provinces of the Ottoman Empire, Ireland, and Poland witnessed revolutions in the 19th century. Friends, let us understand causes and consequences of 1830 and 1848 revolutions.
The 1830s were years of great economic hardships in Europe. Rural people were migrating to cities.
Why are these rural people migrating to city? Yes, it is true. Our slums are overcrowded. No employment in cities and in rural areas.
Oh, the poverty is unfathomable.
Hunger and hardships led to the people's revolt in Europe.
Give us food and job.
Frame the constitution.
Give us freedom of press.
Give us fair wages and the place to live.
Create nation states on parliamentary principles.
We want universal suffrage.
Friends, in the early 19th century, two big political events gave a new direction to the process of nation building in Europe.
The first event was the July Revolution in France, and the second one was the Greek War of Independence. Let's get a glimpse of these events.
Duke Metternich, Austrian Chancellor, and his minister.
When France sneezes, the rest of the Europe catches cold. Your Highness, this phenomenal historical remark holds completely true.
The Bourbon King of France has been overthrown by the liberal revolutionaries. Louis Philippe has been proclaimed as the constitutional monarch.
Sir, another blow on the Treaty of Vienna, the July Revolution, leads to the breaking of Belgium from the United Kingdom of Netherlands. Greek War of Independence began in 1821 against the Ottoman Empire. In discussion with the English poet Lord Byron, who organized funds for the Greek War.
Lord Byron, this war has been strengthened by the support of a great poet like you and many other artists of Europe too.
My friend, Greece is the cradle of European civilization. We will surely win the war against Ottomans. Various happenings of Europe in the 19th century.
Not only revolutions and war of independence were seen in Europe, but also poor, unemployed and starving Europeans were revolting in various parts of Europe in the 19th century.
One such event, known as the Silesian Uprising, had been described by the journalist Wilhelm Wolff related to a Silesian village. These villages were inhabited by weavers. The miseries of workers were extreme as contractors reduced the prices of goods they ordered.
So, increase our wages.
Increase your wages? Don't even think about it, you poor weavers.
Our condition is too miserable.
Die or live. That is your struggle, not mine. Move away.
Our children are starving.
On 4th June 1848, at 2 p.m., a large crowd of weavers of Silesian village.
The contractor has refused to increase the wages.
Today we will not quit. Attack his mansion. Break, plunder, tear the supplied clothes into shreds.
The Causes and Consequences of 1848 in France.
Food shortage and unemployment brought the people of Paris out on the roads. As a result, the constitutional monarch of France, Louis Philippe, was forced to flee.
Following this, the National Assembly of France proclaimed a republic and granted suffrage to all adult males above 21 years. The National Assembly guaranteed the right to work.
Oh God! France witnessed revolution in 1789, then in 1830 and again in 1848.
Teacher is discussing the revolutions of liberals in Germany with the students.
Dear students, not only in France, even in Germany, the process of nation building began in the 19th century. After 1848, liberal revolution, 831 representatives of German Confederation were elected for the new German National Assembly.
German National Assembly, just like National Assembly of France. Very interesting, ma'am.
The proceedings of the Frankfurt Parliament.
All the elected representatives of Frankfurt Parliament are hereby welcomed. All deputies hereby give the consent to draft a constitution for the German nation to be headed by monarchy.
We, the deputies, have decided to offer crown on our terms to the King of Prussia, Friedrich Wilhelm IV. Frankfurt Parliament was dissolved.
Oh Lord, the Parliament has just drafted the Constitution and the rulers have called the troops, and now it is disbanded.
I have rejected the proposal of the Frankfurt Parliament. It is destined to fail.
Friedrich Wilhelm IV has rejected to accept the crown offered by the deputies.
Women in Germany were protesting for their political rights.
Restlessness grew among women as they were not benefited by liberal movements.
We have actively participated in the movements over the years.
We have formed our political associations and even founded newspapers.
We are denied the right to vote. We are admitted only as observers at Frankfurt Parliament.
Injustice! Injustice!
We want political rights.
Consequences of the liberal movements of 1848.
Friends, though conservative forces of Europe suppressed the liberal movements in 1848, but the monarchs decided to grant concession to the liberal nationalists and revolutionaries.
After 1848, the autocratic monarchies of Central and Eastern Europe introduced changes. Serfdom and bonded labors were abolished in Habsburg and Russia.
So many changes occurred after 1848. Great!
The revolutions of 1848 did not change the life of women. It is quite disappointing.
Romanticism, a cultural movement of Europe.
Nationalism can be developed not only through war and annexation, but also through culture.
Friends, meet German philosopher Johann Gottfried Herder, who promoted Volksgeist, that is the true spirit of nation through folk culture.
Now, meet Polish musician Karol Kurpinski, who turned folk dances, the Polonaise and mazurka, into nationalist symbols.
Here meet the Grimm's brothers, Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm of Germany, who spent 6 years traveling from village to village,
talking to people, and finally wrote the popular Grimm's fairy tale and 33-volume dictionary in German.
Romantic nationalism was successfully experimented in Poland.
Friends, this is Poland, where romantic nationalism is prominently used and nationalist feelings are kept alive through music and language.
Great powers, Russia, Prussia, and Austria have partitioned our nation, Poland.
Polish people protesting against Russian authorities.
Oh God! Nothing can deter these Polish people from following their language and culture.
As punishment, our common man, clergy, priests, and bishops have been put in jail or sent to Serbia by the Russian authorities.
Russian authorities have forced out Polish language from the schools and imposed Russian language everywhere.
But we will speak Polish only.
Europe after 1848.
Friends, significant changes were seen in Europe after Liberal Revolution of 1848. The liberal initiative of nation building in Germany was repressed by the combined forces of the monarchy, military and large landowners called Junkers of Prussia.
From then on, Prussia took on the leadership of the movement for Germany unification. Now, we will take you to Prussia, where the process of unification of Germany has started.
The process of unification of Germany. Otto von Bismarck, the main architect of the unification of Germany, with his council of ministers.
Sir, what are you up to? Why have you called this urgent meeting? Anything serious, sir?
My apologies. The Divine King of Prussia desires to meet the Chief Minister.
My army commander, I desire the King of Prussia to be the King of unified Germany. My ministers, Prussia has to lead the unification of Germany.
Is the unification of Germany possible? Even after the failure of 1830 revolution and the failure of Frankfurt Parliament?
Otto von Bismarck is giving commands to the Prussian army.
My Prussian army, do not put down your arms till the hostile powers are defeated.
Yes, Chief Minister Otto von Bismarck, we will defeat Austria, Denmark and France one after another.
On 18th January 1871, in the Hall of Mirrors of the Palace of Versailles, proclamation of the new German Empire.
I welcome all the princes of German states, army personnel and ministers.
We are proud to attend the ceremony wherein the new German Empire, headed by the King of Prussia, Kaiser William I, is proclaimed.
Long live the divine emperor of the unified Germany and the chief minister Otto von Bismarck.
Friend, unification of Germany and Italy are the greatest event of the 19th century. The process and the challenges of nation building in both the nation are same.
Let us go to one school of Sardinia, Piedmont, one Italian state, and hear the discussion between the teacher and their students, and try to understand the views of young Rochelle regarding the challenges of Italy's unification.
In an Italian state, a teacher and the students are discussing the challenges that rose in the process of unification of Italy. Rochelle, political fragmentation of Italian states is the biggest challenge in the unification.
Sir, Italians are scattered into 7 states. The north is under Austrian Habsburg.
Even Italian language has not acquired common form. Many dialects are also there.
The center ruled by the Pope and southern regions under Bourbon kings of Spain.
The political alliance between Count Cavour, Chief Minister of Sardinia, Piedmont, and French ruler can be seen.
French ruler, Sardinia Piedmont is there with you in the war against Austria.
Together we will defeat the Austrian forces. My friend, this war against Austria will surely make you the leader in the unification of Italian states.
In 1860, Garibaldi led the famous expedition of the Thousand to the kingdom of Two Sicilies.
We will drive out the Spanish Bourbon rulers from southern Italy.
Here comes the great revolutionary, Garibaldi. We support him wholeheartedly.
He will redeem us from the reign of Spanish rulers.
Friends, in 1870, during the war with Prussia, France withdrew its troops from Rome. After it, Rome joined Italy and became the capital of the nation. King Victor Emmanuel II entered Rome with all grandeur.
Student has a query, so he asks his teacher.
Ma'am, we have read about nation-building process of France, Germany and Italy. But what led to the formation of the Great Britain? Had Britain witnessed the liberal revolutions of Europe?
Very interesting question. So, let's ask Argus and Adonis to help us understand the process of the formation of the Great Britain.
Interesting story regarding the formation of British nation.
Friends, there was no British nation prior to the 18th century.
Various ethnic groups, English, Welsh, Scots, or Irish, lived in the British Isles.
All of these ethnic groups had their own culture and political traditions. But gradually, the English nation grew in wealth and power and influenced other nations of the islands.
Factors which helped in the formation of the Great Britain.
In 1688, the English Parliament had seized power from the monarchy at the end of a protracted conflict. Look, students, English parliamentarians holding the crown, it symbolized the beginning of a new era of constitutional monarchy in England.
So, this factor made England very powerful?
The Act of Union 1707, signed between England and Scotland, the Scottish Highlanders suffered terrible repression, the English soldiers threatening the Scottish old couple. You English soldiers, you have suppressed Scotland's distinctive cultural and political institutions.
My beautiful country and its culture, all is lost.
Do not dare to speak your Gaelic language.
You old Scottish Highlanders, also change your national dress.
Friends, setting up of the constitutional monarchy and the Act of Union made England very powerful. The expansion policy of England continued. Not only Scotland, but also Ireland suffered a similar fate.
The English helped the Protestant of Ireland to establish their dominance over Catholics. The Catholics' revolts against the British were suppressed.
After a failed revolt led by Wolfe Tone and his United Irishmen in 1798, Ireland was forcibly incorporated into the United Kingdom in 1801.
Thus emerged the new Britain with new symbols, the British flag, the national anthem, and the English language.
We are understanding the process of nation building in Europe. But remember, nation is an abstract concept. So, a simple question to all. Can we visualize the nation?
Young friends, the European artists in the 18th and the 19th century found a way out by personifying a nation. Here, we are talking about allegory of France.
French Revolution gave new wings to allegory. Friends, allegory means an abstract idea expressed through a person or a thing.
Statues of Marianne were erected in public squares to remind the people of the national unity. Marianne images were marked on coins and stamps. She promoted nationalism in France.
Look at the beautiful image of Marianne, allegory of France. Her attributes are the red cap, the tricolor, the cockade.
Germania, Guarding the Rhine by the artist Lawrence Clausen in 1860.
Friends, aren't you all mesmerized by the cover page of the novel?
Yes, the image of Germania became an allegory of Germany.
The first painting of Germania was drawn by the artist Philip Wheat in 1848. Over the years, this popular allegorical image of Germania was drawn by other artists too.
Very interesting. An allegory gave the abstract idea of the nation a concrete form.
A gorgeous and strong representation of a nation.
Young friends, look at the death and the destruction caused by the First World War.
Liberal initiation strengthened the idea of nation building, but unfortunately by the last quarter of the 19th century, idealistic liberal democratic sentiments of nationalism were replaced by the belief of narrow nationalism.
Major European powers manipulated the nationalist aspiration of their people, which resulted in this war.
Nationalist groups became intolerant and were always ready for war.
Balkans became the epicenter of nationalist tension in Europe, which led to the First World War.
Balkans, a region of geographical and ethnic variations, whose inhabitants were broadly known as the Slavs.
There was a fierce jealousy and rivalry among these Slavic nationalities.
Serbians are the best. Albanians are superior.
Spread of romantic nationalism together with disintegration of the Ottoman Empire made the Balkans very explosive.
A large part of the Balkans was under the control of the Ottoman Empire. But by 19th century, one by one Balkans nationalities broke away from Ottoman controls and declared independence.
Even intense rivalries among European powers, Russia, Germany, England, Austria, and Hungary, made this region very explosive.
Nationalism, aligned with imperialism, led Europe to disaster, followed by the First World War in 1914. 20th century was the beginning of a new era of nationalism in colonies.
European power colonized the weaker nations and exploited them vigorously.
And then began the anti-imperial movements in colonies, demanding independent nation states. These anti-imperial movements in the colonies were truly nationalist by nature.
After a long struggle, independent nations emerged in Asia and Africa. Dear students, nation building is a continuous process. Nationalism helps in the formation of a nation, but narrow nationalism or military nationalism can cause huge destruction. Thus, we sum up the lesson with a promise to work for the nation and for global peace. Let us bid farewell to dear Argus and Adonis.
Dear students, the journey of the rise of nationalism in Europe was intriguing yet inspiring. We should treasure our freedom as it has come with a cost. We should respect the sacrifices done by the great men and women.
Let us remember the words of Ernst Renan, the French philosopher. A nation is the culmination of a long past of endeavors, sacrifice, and devotion. A heroic past, great men, glory, that is the social capital upon which one bases a national idea.